Every week we chat to ex-players, supporters and invited guests here on Belmont Banter.
Welcome to the official podcast of Whitstable Town FC, whose main club sponsor is Fibertech UK Limited. Well, good evening again, everyone, and welcome to Belmont Banter. And this evening, on the other end of the phone, I've got Paul Piggott. Now, Paul is now the chairman of Hollands and Blair. Well, good evening, Paul. Who'd have thought it? How did that come about?
Good evening, Tony. No one else wanted it.
What was it, a case of all the guys lined up and they said, step forward, and everyone stepped back?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
goodness.
No, we sort of, I mean, there's a group of us, there's 4 or 5 of us that sort of decided that we'd sort of work together to help push the club forward. And to be honest, Sherry, the chairman part of it was really, wasn't important to myself or any of the others. It was just the 4 or 5 of us saying, look, what we do is we're going to work together and we're going to try and improve our football club as a group of people rather than titles, really.
That's a good way forward. And like our chairman, who's been in the job now just about 2 years or so, you've hit the ground running at a very, very difficult time, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. I mean, when I first started, because I did leave the club briefly, but when I come back, we was struggling a little bit as a club. You know, we'd spent a couple of seasons, battling relegation, and it was tough. It's tough on everyone, but we managed to turn it around, managed to stabilise the club again and turn it around with the help of many people. And just as we started to find our feet and, like you say, started getting the club on the field and off the field where we wanted it, then all of a sudden, what's happened at the moment.
Yeah, nightmare. Okay, well, we've set the scene. We know where you are now, but this is going to be a bit of a journey for you tonight. I want to know where football for you first started. So when did you first sort of start kicking a ball? Who got you involved? Brothers, sisters, dad, uncle? Who was it?
No, well, I was brought up in Chatham originally, and then Mum and Dad moved over to Gillingham, and then I went to junior school, Woodland School, and it was there when I was about 9-10 years old. Bumped into a mate of mine who's still one of my best pals now, Wayne Barlow, in the playground with a football. Asked me if I wanted to play. I played. He got me in the school team, then got me into a Sunday team, and it sort of all went on from there, really.
Quite amazing, isn't it? Those relationships. I've got a couple like that. Unfortunately, I don't see my early schoolmates like I used to, but if I do meet them, the clock just goes back, and it's just like you were there, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Like I say, I mean, I've been lucky that Wayne's still a very good friend of mine now. We still see each other, and we've sort of grown up together. But I still remember that day, them days, early days in the playground. He was in one class, I was in another class, and there was one of him and about 5 of us, and he still used to beat us every break time.
That's how it goes with the good ones, isn't it? And,
yeah, but
when did you actually first start? I'm not going to. This always sounds rude when I say this, but start playing proper football as opposed to kicking it about.
It was around that time. Wayne was playing for Thames View at the time, Thames View under 11s, and it was around that time he asked me to come along and join in. I'd had a couple of school games, very unsuccessful school games. I was actually playing out on pitch at the time, and the guy that was in goal, a year older than me, told me I was going to be the goalkeeper. And because he was a year older than me and a lot bigger than me, I listened to him. So I went in goal and played a couple of school games, and then ended up playing for Thames View under 11s with Wayne. And that's really where the journey started, at Thames View under 11s. Never really kicked a football before then.
Wow. And then from Thames View, was it always involved with Thames when you was young?
Yeah, I played all my sort of kids football, if you like, up until under 16s, because Thames View never really had under 18s at the time. And yeah, so myself and Wayne and one or two others played all the way through that. We played for a guy who was called Don Buxton, who some people might know. He played a bit of non-league football, and give us a very good grounding in what's expected you as a footballer. So yeah, from under 11s up to under 16s, that's where I played all my junior football, if you like.
You mentioned Thames U. It's not to be confused with Thamesmead, is it?
No. This is a local junior football club from Gillingham. It's Thames U Youth Football Club.
Are they still going now, Paul?
Yeah, they're still very successful. Still got plenty of football teams playing, all around Gillingham. So yeah, they're still going. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good shout out for them, because a lot of these teams that are sort of like under the radar, people don't, they don't talk about them, do they?
No, for sure. Yeah. No, I mean, because of my times, they were good times as well. I still see some of the lads that I play with, and some of the lads that are in that side went on to bigger and better things as well, which was great. And that I'll remember them times vividly. They're great times. I learnt a lot. Like I say, I'd barely kicked a football up until I joined them, and all of a sudden you'd go in football training. Then you're getting kits, and then they're taking you to Belgium on football tours, and and you're playing in leagues, and you're getting. And I was lucky enough to be in quite a successful side. We'd won quite a lot as a kids side, and yeah, I mean, I still talk about them now. I've still got all my paper clippings of the getting your face for the first time in local papers, and it's great. Yeah, it's great, brilliant.
I love that. That's really good, isn't it? Yeah, I years and years ago, my very first picture of me in football was when I was in the school team at the juniors. I think I was about the same sort of age as you. I don't know, 8 or 9, and that's one of my best memories, and I can still name every player in the team.
Oh, same, yeah, without doubt, yeah. I still see some of them. Still a few of them still live locally, and I bump into them, and yeah, it's great. You always go back, and the thing you don't want to do anymore is count how many years you've got to go back. But yeah, they're great times, and yeah, I mean, like I say, I've still in my scrapbook, I've still got photos of our team photos and what have you, and it's brilliant.
That's lovely. So goalkeeper from the get go, and is that how it stayed all the way through?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. I got involved with running a few Sunday sides that I, like any Sunday side, are shorter players. I had the odd game out on pitch there, but predominantly, yeah, all the way through was, in between the sticks. Loved every minute of it. There might have been odd minutes in games when you didn't, but yeah, I loved every minute of the goalkeeping, definitely.
After Thames U, where was the next step for you then?
I played a couple of for a couple of local Sunday sides just for a little while, for a couple of months, until another mate of mine that was in the Thames U side with me, Darren Pont, ended up playing for Sittingbourne Youth. And again, one day said to me, "Do you fancy coming down? We need a goalkeeper." And to be honest with you, Tony, I didn't even know non-league football existed at the time. That's how naive I was to football around that time. I loved me football, and I just thought it was professional football or nothing.
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, come there. I'll come down and help you out." And went down there, and all of a sudden I discovered non-league football. At the age of sort of 16, 17, didn't even know it was about.
So that was the catalyst again to move on again. So Sittingbourne, what team was that? Was that the reserves or?
It was the youth team to start with. It was the under-18s. Yeah, so I went down there and played for the under-18s for a few games, and then was lucky enough to start playing the reserves. I was in the reserves playing both Saturdays and Sundays. So I was playing for the reserves on a Saturday, and then the youth team on a Sunday, and did that for a season. And then it grew on from there. And then all of a sudden, I was offered a contract, and mate, I've gone from kicking a ball about, with me mates on a Sunday, to a year later playing non-league football and being offered a contract. I was in a bit of a whirlwind. I've got to be honest with you. Didn't know what a contract was at the time.
Is this back to the times when Sittingbourne were a bit of a top club?
This was when the last 2 years of the ball ground.
Wow.
Yeah, I had 4 years at Sittingbourne, 2 years at the ball ground, and then 2 years when they moved on to Central Park. But yeah them 2 years at the ball ground were great times. Under Hughie Stinson, who I got on with really well. I thought the world of him. He taught me a lot about football. He'd be the first to tell you he didn't know nothing about goalkeeping, but just, what was expected of you as a footballer. Yeah. And his knowledge, whether you was in the bar with him or whether you was in the changing room with him, he had you hooked. You just listened to him. He was just that type of bloke.
Who was the skipper at that time?
Wayne Godden.
Yeah, what a player! Another good player, really good player.
Yeah, Wayne, who I still see regularly now. He comes up and watches some games at the Blair. Yeah, he was. I'll tell you who the first skipper was. Gary Doe.
All right, Gary. Yeah.
Yeah, Gary Doe was the first skipper when I first got involved, and then a year or so later, Wayne comes to the club, and he was club captain. And again, two great people that just taught you how to be a footballer, what was expected of you, and it was good times. Really enjoyed it. It was a proper eye opener going into non-league football for me.
That's good, because the actual era that you've grown up in is almost like a crossover era. The young kids today, they go in at 5 or 6 or 7, and they've got all of a sudden they start talking about academies, and then But what you're talking about really is you just had to find your own way, didn't you?
Definitely that. Because I didn't come from a footballing family. My mum and dad weren't really into football or anything like that, so it wasn't in the household. So my dad, bless him, didn't know the game, and so it wasn't conversations I had at home. It was literally, get your bag, go to football, and find out for yourself. When I sat down and signed my contract, I was just in an office with Huey and Mick Fletcher, the chairman at the time, and it was just, there's a bit of paper, sign it. We're going to give you £20 a week. I could have been signing my life away. I didn't know. It's just the naivety when you look back now is,
sure.
Like you say, you're finding your feet. But luckily, I was around good people. They wasn't there to stitch me up. They was there to, help me progress.
Guide you along. What league were they in at the time?
That was the Kent League. That was in the Kent League then.
That was in the Kent League days. Because they did have some heady times, didn't they, Sittingbourne?
They had some what, sorry, Tony?
They had some heady days, really, didn't they? But that was probably just before you joined them then.
Yeah, what successful times you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that year that I got into the first team, when I come out of the reserves and got into the first team, was the year that they won the Kent League and went undefeated.
Oh, right, I remember.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to start the season. I mean, and that was only because Andy Huff was the goalkeeper at the time. And what a great goalkeeper, great person, great goalkeeper. Taught me a hell of a lot. Unfortunately, got injured the season before, and I managed to finish off the last sort of 10 games of the season and playing in the cup final, Kent Senior Cup final. Don't like to say it, Tony, but it was against Whitstable.
It's all right.
We won 2-0 down at Gravesend. But yeah, so I started that next season, which when I look back now, for me, I only started the season and I only played probably the first 7 or 8 games of that season. But I still look back at that and think to myself, that's a massive achievement for me as a person and as a goalkeeper. One that I was chosen in front of Andy Huff, who was in my eyes was the top man. He was the number 1 goalkeeper in Kent at the time, as far as everyone was concerned. And I got the shirt. He soon got it back, I've got to tell you. But that, in that season, that undefeated season that Sittingbourne had, I started that season, and I still hold that, in one of my biggest achievements, really.
That's a fantastic record, mate. Really brilliant. You should be rightly proud of that.
Yeah, like I say, I only played the first 7 or 8 games. I admit that, but just I look back and I think I was part of that. I was lucky enough to be part of it, and I'm proud of it. I won't lie.
You can look at it the 2 ways. One of them is that you started it all off, so you gave them the sort of the bed for the rest of them to work on, didn't you?
That's what I keep telling myself when I go to sleep at night, Tony.
So how long? So you were at Sittingbourne for what altogether? A couple of years?
4 seasons in the end.
4 seasons.
Yeah, from the 18s. When I joined the 18s, and I was lucky enough to end up in the first team, but 4 seasons in total, yeah.
And where did you move on to from Sittingbourne?
When I went to Chatham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I left there. Obviously, there was a big input of money at the club when they moved to Central Park, and all the big names coming in, and there was getting some proper players in at the time.
Yeah.
And I was obviously surplus to requirements, and went to Chatham, which I loved it. I went down there for the first time, and the players that we had down there at the time. I mean, we might not have been the greatest team, but my God, the team spirit and the banter and the laughs that we had, with people like Steve Noland and and Sean Mitchell and these people, they were proper characters, and I had a great time there. But unfortunately, I didn't even make Christmas because I broke my leg.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we had a midweek game down at Herne Bay, and unfortunately, I broke my leg quite badly. And so I signed for Chatham, but only made about 3 months. And then, unfortunately, I didn't play again for 18 months.
That 18 months must have been hard for you because you were just getting into the sort of thick of football, and then all of a sudden it snatched away from you.
Yeah, it did. I was, I mean, anyone who's had a sort of serious injury like that keeps you out of the game for a long time will know they are tough. And I was gutted because, like I say, I was really enjoying the football. As in, on and off the field, it was. I got to a stage where I thought that this is really good. This is really part of me. I'm liking this. But what I did was, Tony, when I could get off my crutches, the club didn't have a sponge man at the time. I mean, physios weren't a thing at the time, but they didn't have a sponge man. So when John Adams was the manager, I did the sponge for him for a season.
Well, it kept you involved, didn't it?
That's exactly what I wanted. I needed my football. I loved my football, and I couldn't just go and watch every week. So I said to John, can I do the sponge? And he said, of course you can. So yeah, I did the sponge for him for a season, and it was literally a bucket of water and a sponge.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah.
And as you go running across the pitch, all the fans start giving you abuse, don't they?
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I said, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. If a player went down injured and they see me running on, I thought, oh, crikey, because like I say, I didn't have a clue what was going on. I just went on and give them a bit of water, and they got up like players did then. They got up and got on with it. But it was my way of keeping myself involved, and and again, it kept me in a changing room, kept me part of the boys, and like I say, I loved it.
And to get yourself fit again, back to it, did you stay at Chatham or did you move on elsewhere?
No, I moved on from there because they started doing well, and Carl Webb had come in and he was doing really well for the club, and he was playing in goal at the time for Chatham and doing really well, and you sort of know when you're a goalkeeper, when you it's not like other players, if you go in and another player as a club, you can play in one or two positions, and you get a chance at 1 week after another. But when you're a goalkeeper, when there's someone better than you at the club, and that you're not going to be the number one. And at this level, there's not many clubs that keep two goalkeepers, two what I would call first team goalkeepers. So I knew the writing was on the wall, and I knew it was going to take me a long time to get back, because I did have a sort of quite a bad broken leg. But when I did decide to get back playing, Huey, I then had gone to Faversham. Huey Stinson, he asked me down there, so I went to Faversham and had a couple of seasons down there.
Enjoyable, nice little club though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was good. Again, I mean, it wasn't the most successful time as a player, or it wasn't Faversham's most successful time either. But yeah, I went down there again, but we had a good time. We enjoyed our football. We enjoyed our in banter afterwards and in the bar and whatever. And with it was never a dull moment with Huey and Stevie Wren around. It was always a eventful time. But yeah, it got me back playing. It took me a while to find my feet again after an injury, get my confidence back.
This spell that you had with the sponge, as the sponge man, that probably held you in good stead for the future, didn't it?
It did. Yeah. You get to see a little bit. I wasn't involved with any conversations about team selection or anything like that with John Adams, but yeah, you do get to see, other side of the game. And it's an eye opener, and it's sort of whet my appetite a little bit to what come on later on in me football career, really.
That's right, because I think what it is, from my point of view, you would be looking at man management from the best viewpoint, because when the manager comes in at half time and either gives them a rocket or gives them a bit of a G up, it's not aimed at you, but you're sitting there listening to it all.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and when you're playing, you're probably not privy to the conversations that the manager has on the bench. You know that he points things out, and you think, oh yeah, I can see that. But when you was out playing, obviously you don't obviously see everything. But yeah, that was a big thing for me. That what you can see from sitting on the bench, rather than when you're involved with the game. You know, you broaden your picture of the game, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed just being able to sit back and watch and learn, and you know that was I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah, it gives you a different view of the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I say, it's you know, sometimes as a player you get in a change room. As soon as you're picked, you put your kit on, and sometimes you switch off a little bit. You don't mean to, but you do. You're thinking, right, I'm going to get out there and enjoy my game of football and whatever. But when I was in there as a sponge man, I used to listen a little bit more to what everyone was being told, and yeah, and you just pick up on things, and you're learning one or two things, and how our manager's trying to motivate a player, and how he's trying to tactically change something, and yeah, just little things that you pick up on, you know.
Because it's funny when you're doing what you're doing. It did eventually, and now with your job as chairman, it's all about motivating the players and the people around you, and everybody reacts in a different way. Some need a hard stick, some need a arm around the shoulder. So you must have seen a lot of that going on.
Whitstable Town Football Club's main sponsor is Fibertech UK Limited.
Yeah, for me, I think in football now, I think people are overcoached. I think, you know, I get why there's coaching, and I get you know, you've got to have certain direction in the way you want to play and all the rest of it. But for me, you know, 90% of getting the best out of someone is motivating them. If I can motivate that, I mean, I know I will. You know, that's always been a philosophy for me. You know, if it's been a thing for me in football, getting the guy to want to play for you, getting the guy to want to run through a brick wall for you. If you get that, you get the best out of him, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, certainly do. So how long did you actually end up staying down at Faversham then?
I had 2 seasons there, and then that's a bit of a story how that come to an end. There was a guy coming, a new guy that come out as chairman of the club, and I forget his name now, but he was, you know, he had all and sundry with him, and what he was going to do and what he wasn't going to do, and he took a disliking to Huey right from day one. And I don't know if anyone would remember this, but we had Herne Bay on the opening game of the season. Mm-hmm. Well, Huey and the players, us, we turned up on the first game of the season, and the chairman had got another team signed on, sitting in the stands. And as we turned up, we were told that we wasn't wanted, and he had a new team of players sitting in the stand.
My goodness me.
And he sacked Huey, you know, an hour and a half before kickoff.
I never knew about that at all. Well, if I did, it's gone to the back of my mind as a horrible experience. Oh, how awful.
Yeah, we couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it at the time. I remember we had Tommy Sampson's Herne Bay, the opening game of the season. And walked in the ground thinking we was going to play an hour and a half before kickoff. And then, they sacked Huey. So we was all gone.
Wonder there wasn't a riot there.
Yeah, well, yeah, it could have been. Like I say, I mean, you've got to have a certain amount of morals in football, and this guy never had any, I've got to tell you. I mean, I can't even remember his name, to be honest with you, but yeah, he didn't last long, because people like that don't last long in sport.
I don't. No, I'll tell you what, Paul, if you could remember his name, I'd edit it out anyway, so he's not worth talking about.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's right. Yeah,
after Faversham, where did Paul end up then?
Yeah, then what I forgot to say, Tony, is in that 2-season spell, I did come to Whitstable for a game. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, Wayne Godden asked me to come down one pre-season. probably the shortest stint and the most unsuccessful stint as a player I had, really. I come down and it didn't go well for me. I played one game, I think. We lost 6-0 opening game of the season. I think I was down to 5 of the goals, and I knew that this wasn't going to be for me. After a quick conversation, I was back at Faversham.
Back at Faversham.
Yeah.
But that's the luck of a goalkeeper, isn't it? I mean, you could have a blinder and he'd have signed you on the spot. Okay, so you were telling me about the time at Faversham, and you just relayed about the guy who came in as the new, I suppose, chairman and all the nonsense going on there. But then you moved on to where next?
Yeah, then I moved on to Lordswood. Gary Doe, who, like I said to you earlier, was my old skipper at Sittingbourne. Yep. He took over at Lordswood Football Club, and they'd just got into the Kent League. So he asked me to go down there, so I went down there.
It's nice that you're wanted, though, isn't it?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like I say, when you go through the little escapade that, I hadn't had a good time. Like I say, I'd been out with my injury. I'd got to Faversham and what happened there, Whitstable and what happened there, and then all of a sudden, you get Gary ringing you up, say, come down to Lordswood and we'd love to have you. And yeah, I mean, any player's wanted. You know that if you're a player and someone wants you, it's a good feeling. And I went down there, and as soon as I walked in the place, I had a feeling that I was going to like the place, and from day one, and I spent 11 seasons there.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. There's nothing nicer than when you're in situ in somewhere and you feel comfortable, you know everyone. And they're a good crew down there at Lordswood, aren't they? They've always made us feel welcome.
Oh, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. They're still the same people running it now that it was when the day I walked in the door then. That must be over 20 years ago now. Yeah, you Dave Sims and John O'Halloran's and whatever. Steve Lewis's, great people, and they're still there running the club now. A lot to say. I knew the first training session I had, I knew that I was going to like the place. And obviously you don't think you're going to be there as long as that and go on the journey that you're going to have there. But I knew that I was going to love it there, and I did. I loved every minute of my time there. Went there as a player and ended up as the manager. So, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that was, you say it's a journey. It certainly is a journey. I mean, similar sorts of things have happened at Whitstable a couple of times, most notably when Siegs came to us as a player and then ended up as a manager, and a very successful manager as well. But with you, how long did your time as a player last?
I think it was about 8 years.
My goodness me.
Yeah, so I think I had eight seasons as the keeper there. Because I was 3.5 years as manager there. So yeah, that'd be about right. It's about 8 years as a player, most of which was playing for Barry Zillwood, who anyone at Lordswood would know was a bit of a legend there. And I loved him to bits, Barry, and he's one of the guys that made you want to stay at the club. That's how infectious he was. He was a good guy, looked after you. Bearing in mind we wasn't getting paid. No one got paid at Lordswood at the time. But I loved every minute of it. And the reason I started the management thing come about was I started running the Sunday side that I was playing for at the same time when I was playing at Lordswood. And all of a sudden that sort of gave me a bit of a taste for doing that. And that's how I moved on to having a chat with Barry one day and taking over from him.
That really latches onto the back of that conversation we were having earlier on when I was talking about you being in the dugout and learning all those little bits and pieces, seeing it from the inside.
Yeah, exactly that. It just gives you an insight into the other side of
the offer of management came along. You were managing the Sunday side. How long did you have to think about it?
About 30 seconds. I knew in my own mind, that I wanted to progress from Sunday football to Kent League football on a Saturday. So I'd known in my own mind it's something I wanted to do. Yeah, and like I say, and then Barry asked me to be his assistant first because I'd had no experience at being a manager at that level. I think Barry done the right thing. He brought me in beside him just to see, what I was about, I suppose, in front of, because I'd gone from just sitting there listening to people to all of a sudden now being the assistant and now having to having to speak to players as you do as part of the management. And and Barry saw the season out, and then in the summer, I had a chat with the chairman at the time, John O'Halloran, and we decided that that I was lucky enough to take the job on.
Very difficult to ask you this question, but I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Of all the players that you managed to bring to the club, because as the manager, invariably it's your choice, who's the one that you felt changed things for you the most?
At Lordswood?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, we had brought in a lad called Dave Forster. Dave had played, a lot of non-league football at a decent level as well. And we had a lot of good young players at Lordswood who had only played local football because we couldn't go out and get players because didn't have the money. Players at that level that are any good obviously wanted paying, and we couldn't pay players. So we had a lot of raw talent in our side, but we needed someone to look after them. And then when we signed Dave Forster, he looked after the players on and off the field. He stood up for me. He knew how to play the game. He was a good player for me when I first took over. He was the one that sort of took the message from the changing room to the players on the field and kept that information going. And he was good for me. He was for my sort of first experienced non-league player to be playing for me in my first job. He was the one that sort of.
It's an interesting story you've got, so I want to do it. I really want to do it. So you had what, 2 seasons as manager, or 3? Was it? Did you say
3.5 seasons at Lordswood? Yeah.
And whenever a manager stops, it never really ends very well, does it?
No, I mean when I was getting to the end of my sort of third full season, and we'd had a bit of personal stuff at home, which I don't really want to go into.
No.
That sort of affected what I was doing as a manager, because as you know, you've got to be 110% of your week has got to be tied up in football, as much as you can. And I couldn't do that because of something that happened in my personal life. So I had to walk away from football at that stage. I was gutted because I loved it. I loved the club. I loved what I was doing. They gave me the opportunity, because in my first full season at Lordswood, we finished bottom,
Yeah.
And the club were well within their rights to sack me, get rid of me, part with me, whatever way you want to describe it. But they didn't. They stuck with me, and the next season after that, we finished 8th in the league, which at the time was the highest the club had ever finished in the league.
That's a good position. Yeah, it's comfortable.
Yeah, and I look back now, and the way the club stuck by me, and the way we stuck with it. I look back at that, and that's a good time that I always think back to as well, about how a club looks after people, and the way they looked after me then, was great.
That's good. This life's a journey, and all this stuff that you've gone through, it stands you in good stead for what you're doing now. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, be like yourself, Tony. You've been involved in football a long time, and you see a lot. If you think it's all a bed of roses all the way through, then you're in the wrong game.
Definitely.
There's going to be a lot of downs and a lot of hard times, and a lot of times when you think, why am I playing all my time into it? Why did you put the effort into it? Why do you have sleepless nights about it? Well, it's because of the good days.
Absolutely.
The good days in football, and we all have them, and we all love them, and that's why you do it. You do it for the good days.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, where did you go from Lordswood then when you moved on?
I had a little bit of time off, like I say, away from football, not long, and then Keith McMahon was manager of Thamesmead.
Yeah.
So he asked me to go up and help him out for a bit. So I went up there and spent a season up there with Keith at Thamesmead, just doing a bit of warm-ups and a bit of coaching, bit of this, bit of that. And that was a good time. That was an eye-opener. Because I've never been up that neck of the woods with any football club.
No.
And just seeing the different characters up there was good. I enjoyed it.
It's good. You eventually end up at Hollands and Blair, but how did that come about?
Well, Hollands and Blair is a club that I've known for a very, very long time. When my mates, when they was playing locally in local football, my mates played for them. And Plum, who run the club, I'd known for years, and friends of mine have always been connected with the club. The clubs are local, just down the road from where I live and where I was brought up. And it was always our local sort of social club, football club. So I've always known the club, but then they started to progress. They started coming up the ladder. And Plum, who run the club, contacted me and asked me if I'd come and run the team. So I went and met him. We had a chat. So I decided to take the manager's job on then.
So how long were you the manager at Hollands and Blair for?
I must have been the manager for 7 seasons, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So wherever you've gone, you've had relatively long time at each club, haven't you?
Yeah, I've always been the same, Tony. I'm not one for change. If I like somewhere and it gives me what I need, I'll be loyal to that club like they'll be loyal to me,
Yeah.
I don't look to chop and change too many things in my life, and football clubs was the same. I didn't. Once I'm happy somewhere, I'll give there everything I've got.
It's quite amazing, this, Paul, because you've gone from a young lad of 7, 8 or 9 who wasn't particularly interested in football, and now you've all these years later, you've ended up as chairman of the football club.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, like anyone else, Tony, who probably told you 100 times, football can give you so much. Just not just the 90 minutes of football that you get on a Saturday afternoon. It's the friendships that you get. The work you can get through people at football, the help you can get through people at football. The social events you get. It just brings the whole package that sport and football brings you. Makes you want to stay in it. For me,
you've just highlighted everything that we're both missing.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Just one of those things, isn't it? Well, So how's the season going for your lads? And who have you got as a manager, by the way?
Simon Halsey is our manager now.
Oh, of course he is, yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, Si's been our manager now for 2 seasons, but he's probably only played 1 season's worth of games, if that.
Yeah, with all this going on, yes.
Because of what's going on.
Yeah, good lad, Si. I've got a lot of history with him, so I like him a lot. He's all right.
Yeah, I mean, the Hollands and Blair as a football club had only ever, I think, apart from myself, only ever had managers from within the club, players, committee members, whoever it may be. It's always been a little thing for the club to get from within. Yeah, but I think we as a football club, we've outgrown that now. We like to think we're an established Kent League club now.
Yeah.
So we made a decision 2 years ago to try and get an established manager from outside, of the club, and we brought Si in, and it's worked for us.
It's paid off, isn't it? He's doing well.
Yeah. No, we're more than happy with what's going on. With the type of players that we're getting in. They're buying into what we are as a club. We are a family club. We do like the social events. We want our players not just to turn up on a Saturday and go home. We want them to come to our quiz nights. We want them to come in the bar afterwards and have a chat with supporters, because the supporters, think the world of them. So, we're doing all right. We're happy at the minute.
That's good. All right, Paul, well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Piggott, I'll have to call you Mr. Piggott now. Your football nickname's gone out the door now. It's Mr. Paul Piggott, chairman of Hollands and Blair. Well done. Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, this has been a brilliant chat tonight. I know it's been a bit disjointed because we've had a bit of problem with the audio, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you have.
No, I have, Tony. Yeah, I mean, I love, like I say, I love everything about the game, and sitting here talking about it is, one of the things I love. And especially with people like yourself who've been around a long time.
Yes, it's good. And it's nice for me because every time I'm sitting here doing this, everybody keeps pricking my memory, because you mentioned so many players, people at clubs and that I know. And I think, so-and-so. It's so good. Really is good. And I think that's what people get out of this. We get a lot of people listen to this in bed, would you believe?
Yeah.
They take their phone to bed, plug it in, and they sit there and listen to the podcast. And we're on all of the social media everywhere. You've only got to type the name in, and there it comes up.
Is it? Yeah, I mean, at the moment, Tony, one of the things that we do when we go to football, we like to talk about it. And unfortunately, with the situation at the moment, we can't get out and talk about it.
No,
so
absolutely right. You've heard Keith's non-league football show on the radio, have you?
No, I didn't know. No, I didn't know he had one.
Oh my goodness me! Yeah, he's been doing it for about 4 years.
Oh, don't tell him I didn't know, will you?
Oh no! All right, I better edit that bit out, otherwise he'll go nuts. All right.
Yeah, no, I've been listening to it for years.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I've been listening to it for years. Well done. That's it. That's what we wanted. All right, stay there. I'll just wrap this up. So from me here at Belmont Banter, everybody, it's been a great pleasure tonight to have the chairman, ex-player and manager in the past at Hollands and Blair this evening. So Paul Piggott, it's been a delight, Paul, and I wish you well for the rest of the season. No, I don't think we're going to have one, are we?
I don't think so. I think if we're all being honest, it's not going to happen. It's not safe enough for people to be out there at the moment. So, yeah, I think it will be August when we're back playing, I think.
Do you know what? You sounded just like a chairman then. Well done, Paul. I've really enjoyed it, mate. Stay safe, and we'll talk again soon, and hopefully meet up and be able to shake hands in not too distant future.
Yeah, definitely. No, I appreciate it, Tony. Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, buddy. Take care. Cheers, Paul.
Whitstable Town Football Club's main sponsor is Fibertech UK Limited. They are providers of optical fibre services to the telecoms industry, specialising in optical fibre provision, local and long haul. We offer a full turnkey solution to our clients throughout London and the south of England. Contact us through the website for more details.
Your host, Tony Rouse, every week on Belmont Banter for news about local football in Kent and beyond.
I do hope that you've enjoyed today's episode of Belmont Banter. Don't forget there's a new episode out every week which comes out on a Sunday night, early Monday morning. And you can leave your suggestions for a guest to invite at the end. And leave a like, and don't forget to pass it on to all your mates. Cheers!